Introduction: Redefining Wealth and Challenging Conventional Wisdom. Greetings, future financial masters, and welcome to a journey that promises to fundamentally reshape your understanding of money, wealth, and the very fabric of your financial future. If you are tuning in today, chances are you, like millions of others, have felt that nagging sense of something missing from your education. That crucial piece of the puzzle that seems to explain why some people effortlessly accumulate wealth, while others, despite working tirelessly, seem forever trapped in a never-ending cycle of financial struggle. Well, you are about to discover that missing piece. Robert Kiyosaki, the brilliant mind behind the groundbreaking book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, famously stated a truth that resonates with startling clarity. Earning money is a science. And this science, ladies and gentlemen, is conspicuously absent from the curriculum of our traditional school systems. Think about it. From kindergarten through university, what are we primarily taught? We are taught how to be good employees, how to build a resume, how to secure a stable job, how to climb the corporate ladder, and how to chase a career. We are trained to become cogs in a larger machine, to exchange our precious time and effort for a paycheck. While there is absolutely nothing inherently wrong with this path for those who choose it, it is a path designed for one specific outcome: employment. It is not designed to teach you how to generate wealth independently, how to make money work for you, or how to truly command your financial destiny. If you, like me, come from a middle-class family, there is a very high probability that your parents, with the best of intentions, actually passed down financial habits and beliefs that, in essence, taught you how to remain poor. Now, before you bristle at that statement, let me be absolutely clear. This is not an indictment of your parents or their love for you. Quite the opposite. They loved you fiercely and wanted nothing but the best for you. The simple, often painful truth is that they themselves were not equipped with this vital financial education. They consumed what we might call expired information about money, information that was perhaps relevant in a different era, or simply based on a limited understanding of wealth creation. And when you were born, they passed that information, those beliefs, and those habits on to you. It is a cycle, often unconscious, but profoundly impactful. Kiyosaki powerfully articulates this phenomenon, saying that poverty is akin to genetics. It is not something you are born with in your DNA, but rather a set of learned behaviors, mindsets, and financial patterns that pass from one generation to the next. Just as certain traits might run in families, so too can certain financial struggles. It is not a curse, but a conditioned response, a default setting, if you will, that can be reprogrammed. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not just another finance book. It is a profound awakening. It is one of those transformative texts that, upon reading, makes you wish you had discovered it years earlier. I genuinely believe that if I had encountered these core principles when I was 14 or 15 years old, my financial journey would have been radically different. And that is precisely why this video is so crucial. We are going to embark on a detailed summary and deep dive into all 7 key lessons from this seminal work, expanding on each one with practical insights, relatable examples, and actionable thoughts. Beyond just reading the book or watching this video, the true power lies in applying these principles. Financial education is merely passive learning. Financial action is what truly transforms your reality. You can consume all the knowledge in the world, but until you take that knowledge and put it into practice, until you begin to do things differently, your circumstances will remain unchanged. Think of it like this. Knowing how to swim is one thing. Actually jumping into the water and doing the strokes is another entirely. This is about equipping you not just with knowledge, but with the courage and clarity to act. We will also introduce the concept of financial genes. Again, not literal genes, but the deeply ingrained, often subconscious money habits and beliefs that you inherited. Just as a genetic predisposition might make you more prone to certain physical traits, your financial genes can predispose you to certain financial outcomes. The exciting news is that, unlike biological genes, these financial genes can be rewired. You have the power to break the generational chains of limited financial understanding and forge a new legacy for yourself and for those who follow you. This journey promises to be not just educational, but profoundly empowering. The time for passive consumption is over. The time for active transformation is now. Core Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. Our journey begins with what might be the most counterintuitive and profound lesson from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The rich do not work for money. This statement often causes confusion, even disbelief, in those who have spent their entire lives operating under the conventional belief that the sole purpose of work is to earn a paycheck. Let us delve into the story of young Robert Kiyosaki and his childhood friend Mike, which perfectly illustrates this principle. When Robert was just 9 years old, he and Mike experienced a moment of stark social exclusion. They were not invited to a classmate's beach house simply because they were considered poor kids. This experience ignited a powerful desire within Robert. He returned home, eager for a solution, and asked his own father, whom he affectionately calls his poor dad, how to become rich. The response he received was typical of the conventional mindset. You have to learn how to make more money. Even as a young boy, Robert instinctively understood that this advice, while seemingly logical, was incomplete and ultimately unhelpful in achieving true wealth. His poor dad, a highly educated man, a teacher with a respectable income, consistently struggled financially. He made a good living, yet money always seemed to slip through his fingers. This constant struggle, despite a good income, was a powerful, albeit negative lesson for young Robert. Seeing the intense determination in Robert and Mike to learn about making more money, Poor Dad, perhaps out of his own frustration or a genuine desire to help, made an unexpected suggestion. He advised them to go and talk to Mike's father, a man Robert would come to call his Rich Dad. Both boys were quite surprised by this recommendation. Rich Dad was not yet rich in the traditional sense. He had not inherited wealth or achieved massive public success. Furthermore, he had never even finished 8th grade. Yet, he was running multiple successful businesses, a stark contrast to Poor Dad's salaried employment. Nevertheless, driven by their desire, they went to meet Mike's dad. On the day of their meeting, he posed a crucial question. Are you ready to learn how to make money? Their excited nods were immediate and enthusiastic. Then came the offer that would change their lives. Rich Dad explained that he would teach them, but not in the sterile, classroom-style setting they were accustomed to. He would only teach them if they worked for him. He emphatically stated that he would be wasting his time if they simply wanted to sit and listen. His philosophy was simple. Just as they learned faster in school by doing their homework and participating, they would learn about money faster by actively engaging, by working. Robert, still operating under conventional learning paradigms, wanted to ask a question, but Rich Dad cut him off. He explained that if they could not make up their minds decisively, if they hesitated when opportunities arose, they would never truly learn how to make money. Opportunities, he stressed, come and go. And the ability to make quick, informed decisions is an incredibly important skill in the world of wealth creation. Robert and Mike exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between them, and both eagerly accepted the offer. Rich Dad was pleased. He offered them 10 cents an hour for 3 hours of work every Saturday. Even though Robert had a softball game scheduled that day, he chose work and learning over play. He intuitively knew this was a unique opportunity, one he could not afford to waste. So, Robert and Mike began their first job for Mrs. Martin, an employee of Mike's dad who managed a small supermarket. These were the typical neighborhood stores where people bought daily essentials: milk, bread, butter, cigarettes. The stores lacked air conditioning, so the doors were kept wide open to the road and parking lot. This meant that every time a car drove by, dust would swirl into the store, settling on everything. Their job was mind-numbingly boring. Take canned goods off the shelves, brush them with a feather duster, and then neatly restack them. They worked 3 hours every Saturday, earning 30 cents. This was hardly exciting. A comic book cost 10 cents back then, so their entire weekly earnings bought them only 3 comic books. They persisted, however, because they were driven by the promise of learning how to make money. But after 3 weeks of this monotonous, low-paying labor, Robert was ready to quit. He felt like a slave, toiling for mere pennies an hour, and he had not even seen Mike's dad since that initial meeting. At lunchtime on the 4th week, he told Mike he was done. School was boring enough. He did not want to waste his Saturdays doing this anymore. To his surprise, Mike simply smiled. He explained that his dad had anticipated this very reaction. Rich Dad had told Mike to wait until Robert was ready to quit, then to bring him to a meeting. This revelation angered Robert even more, but Mike calmly explained that his father's teaching method was fundamentally different from Robert's parents'. Rich Dad did not lecture. He used experience as his primary tool for teaching. Robert, despite his frustration, agreed to meet with Mike's dad the following Saturday to hear him out. Even his own poor dad was angry with Rich Dad, advising Robert to demand a raise of at least 25 cents an hour and to quit if he did not get it. When Robert arrived at Mike's house, he was made to wait for 45 minutes before Rich Dad finally appeared. Frustrated and seething, Robert confronted him. He accused Rich Dad of not keeping his end of the bargain, of promising to teach him but delivering only meaningless, low-paying labor. He called Rich Dad greedy and disrespectful of his employees. Rich Dad then asked Robert if teaching meant talking or giving a lecture. Robert nodded, confirming his conventional understanding. Rich Dad then delivered a pivotal lesson. Life is the best teacher of all. He explained that life often does not talk to you. Instead, it pushes you around. Some people simply let life push them around, accepting their fate. Others fight back, but they fight against the wrong things: their job, their boss, their spouse, or the economy. But only a select few, the truly wise, welcome life's pushes as an opportunity to learn and grow. Rich Dad revealed that he had over 150 employees, but not a single one of them had ever asked him to teach them about money. They only sought jobs and paychecks, never truly grasping the deeper purpose of their work or the mechanics of wealth. However, when Mike told him that both boys genuinely wanted to learn how to make money, Rich Dad decided to create a program that mirrored real-life experiences. He paid them a mere 10 cents an hour, which initially made them angry, but he explained that he wanted them to experience life's push firsthand so they could truly understand what he was trying to teach. When Rich Dad asked Robert what he had learned from working for such a low wage, Robert again complained about Rich Dad's greed and lack of respect for his workers. He reiterated his threat to quit if he did not get a raise or more teaching. Rich Dad patiently explained that most people would do exactly what Robert was suggesting: quit and look for a higher-paying job. However, this approach rarely, if ever, solves their underlying problems. He wanted Robert to understand that simply waiting for a raise or believing that more money would solve all his problems was a false solution. The real solution, the profound shift, is to make money work for you. Robert was slowly beginning to grasp the essence of the lesson. Rich Dad then asked if Robert still had a passion to learn. When Robert affirmed that he did, Rich Dad made an even more shocking announcement. He was going to stop paying him for the work at the store altogether. Robert was utterly confused. He had come asking for a raise, and now he was being told he would work for free. Rich Dad reiterated that if he wanted to make more money, he needed to use his head and figure it out. The expectation was on them to find a solution, not on him to provide one. Robert and Mike continued to work for free for 3 weeks. One day, Mike's dad showed up and took the boys outside for ice cream. Rich Dad asked if they had learned anything yet. They admitted they had not. Rich Dad gently urged them to hurry and start thinking, because the lesson was staring them directly in the face. To help explain, he asked the boys to look at Mrs. Martin, the store manager, and the people in the park, and consider if the life they were living seemed exciting to them. He described it: working hard for little money their whole lives, clinging to the illusion of job security, looking forward to a meager 3-week vacation each year, and perhaps a small pension after 45 years of service. Rich Dad then posed a powerful question. If this kind of life excites you, I would be willing to offer you a raise of 25 cents an hour. Robert's and Mike's heartbeats quickened. They knew what 25 cents an hour would mean to them. It was a significant sum for kids their age. But still, they resisted the temptation and said no. Seeing their resistance, Rich Dad raised his offer to $1 an hour, then $2 an hour. Each time he raised his offer, Robert's heart began to pound even harder, and his brain screamed at him to take the deal. He knew $2 an hour would have made him the richest kid in the world. He could not even imagine earning that kind of money. He desperately wanted to say yes. He pictured a shiny new bicycle, a brand new baseball glove, and the adoration of his friends when he flashed some cash. But somehow, miraculously, his mouth stayed shut. Rich Dad watched the two boys, their eyes wide open, their brains seemingly empty of thought, locked in an internal battle. He was testing them, and he knew there was a powerful, emotional part of their being that craved the deal. He understood that every person has a weak and needy part of their soul that can be bought, that can be swayed by fear and greed. But he also knew that every individual possessed a resilient part of their soul that had no price, a part that could never be bought. It was only a question of which part was stronger. So, he made a final staggering offer, $5 an hour. Suddenly, the boys' expressions changed. Their empty, conflicted looks transformed into a profound calmness. It was as if their temptation completely disappeared. In that very second, they felt the weak and needy part of their soul silenced, overtaken by the part that truly had no price. The rich dad nodded. "It was good you didn't have a price," he said. He explained that most people do, because their lives are primarily controlled by two powerful emotions, fear and greed. The fear of being without money makes them work hard to earn that paycheck, to feel secure. But once they have that money, greed kicks in, making them think about all the things they could buy, which then makes them need more money, which in turn makes them spend more and work even harder. This, the rich dad explained, is what he called the rat race. It is a vicious, never-ending cycle of earning and spending, driven by emotional reactions rather than rational thought. Mike, with a newfound clarity, asked if there was another way out of this trap. Rich Dad confirmed that there was, but he lamented that not many people knew about it or were willing to pursue it. Mike eagerly pressed for more information, and Rich Dad simply stated that they would learn it while continuing to work with him for no pay. Mike asked for a hint, and Rich Dad replied, "The first step is to tell the truth." When asked what truth, he replied that it was about how they truly felt, and that they must confess it to themselves, not to others. Rich Dad expressed doubt that most people working for him were capable of confessing their truth. Instead, they feel the fear of not having money, and they respond emotionally rather than logically. They do not confront their fear. Instead, their emotions take control of their brains. They work tirelessly to earn money, falsely hoping it will relieve their fear, but it never truly does. Money governs their emotions and their very souls, and they refuse to acknowledge this profound truth. Rich Dad urged the boys to avoid this trap, stating that being rich does not solve the problem. More money simply exacerbates the underlying emotional issues if they are not addressed. When asked why, he introduced the other key emotion that drives human behavior: desire or greed. It is common for people to desire things that are better, prettier, more exciting. New cars, bigger houses, exotic vacations. They often work for money because they genuinely believe it will make them happy. But the happiness derived from money alone is often short-lived, a fleeting high, followed by a desire for something even more. Furthermore, many rich people, ironically, are still driven by fear, fearing losing what they have accumulated. This makes them even more anxious than when they were poor. Emotions, Rich Dad stressed, often control our thinking, and fear can lead us to make decisions that do not solve the real problem. For example, when someone is afraid of not having enough money, they might think getting a job is the only solution. But in reality, a job is often only a temporary fix for a long-term problem, a band-aid on a gaping wound. It is paramount, Rich Dad concluded, to learn how to think for ourselves, to gain control over our minds, and not let our emotions dictate our choices. Rich Dad saw hope in Robert and Mike. He saw it when they agreed to work for free, demonstrating a willingness to prioritize learning over immediate gain. And he saw it when they took the first crucial step by resisting their emotions when he tempted them with more money. They were learning to think in spite of being emotionally charged. He told them to keep working, and that the sooner they could forget about needing a paycheck, the easier and more prosperous their adult life would be. He encouraged them to keep using their brains, to continue working for free, and soon their minds would begin to show them ways of making money far beyond anything he could ever pay them. They would develop the ability to see opportunities that others simply could not. The moment they saw one such opportunity, a mental switch would flip, and they would begin to see them for the rest of their lives. The boys did as Rich Dad advised, and pretty soon their awakened minds saw an opportunity. They created a library where kids could pay a small admission fee and read as many comic books as they wanted. This ingenious idea solved a problem for other kids who wanted to read many comics without buying them all, and created a new income stream for them. They hired Mike's younger sister to be the head librarian, charging each child 10 cents for admission. It was a bargain for the kids, as a comic book typically cost 10 cents each, and they could read 5 or 6 in 2 hours. Mike and Robert averaged $9.50 per week over a 3-month period, a significant sum for kids their age. They paid Mike's sister $1 a week and allowed her to read the comics for free. They eventually had to close the library after 3 months due to a fight that took place there. But the real lesson had already been learned. They had learned how to make money work for them, even when they were not physically present. They had internalized the first foundational lesson. The rich do not work for money, they make money work for them. They were now ready to learn more. Core Lesson 2: Mastering Financial Literacy, the Language of Wealth. When people ask Robert Kiyosaki where he began his journey to becoming rich, he consistently gives them the same answer his rich dad gave him. If you want to be rich, you need to be financially literate. This sounds simple, yet it is a profound truth that eludes most individuals. Financial literacy is not just about knowing how to balance a checkbook or save a few dollars. It is about understanding the fundamental language of money, the rules of the financial game, and how to effectively navigate the flow of cash. For many, subjects like accounting are perceived as boring, confusing, and intimidating. But Rich Dad understood that accounting is absolutely crucial to financial success. To make it accessible and understandable for 2 young boys, he used pictures and simple language, breaking down complex concepts into easily digestible truths. One of the first and most critical distinctions Rich Dad explained to Robert and Mike was the difference between an asset and a liability. He stated with disarming simplicity that if you want to be rich, the only thing you need to do is buy assets. That is truly all you need to know to get rich. Despite its apparent simplicity, this is a concept that a staggering number of people fail to grasp. When Rich Dad first explained it, Robert and Mike thought he was joking. The concept seemed so incredibly simple. How could adults, supposedly intelligent and educated, not understand this? Surely, if it were that easy, everyone would be rich. The problem, however, lies in how most people have been educated, or rather miseducated, by banks, financial planners, and even well-meaning family members. They have been taught certain definitions and strategies that, in reality, lead them astray. Because of this societal conditioning, they frequently buy liabilities, genuinely believing that these are assets. This is why a fundamental step towards financial freedom is to unlearn what you think you know and replace it with accurate, empowering information. Robert Kiyosaki offers incredibly simple yet powerful definitions for assets and liabilities that cut through the confusion. An asset, he explains, is something that puts money in your pocket. Conversely, a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. This elegant simplicity is the key to understanding the game of wealth. Let us visualize this. Imagine a simple diagram. The top part represents an income statement, often called a profit and loss statement. This measures income, money in, and expenses, money out. The lower part is a balance sheet, designed to show a balance between assets and liabilities. An asset, clearly defined, adds to your income. It is a source of positive cash flow. For example, if you own a house and you rent it out to tenants, it is an asset because it puts money in your pocket every single month in the form of rent, ideally more than the associated expenses. This creates a positive cash flow pattern. Now, consider the cash flow pattern of a liability. A liability takes money out of your pocket. If you have a car loan, the monthly payment is money flowing out. If you have credit card debt, the interest payments and minimum payments are money flowing out. If you want to be rich, the core strategy is remarkably clear. Avoid liabilities and instead diligently buy more assets. It sounds almost too straightforward, but its power lies in its disciplined application. Through these simplified diagrams and clear definitions, you can easily discern how each person handles money and whether their financial trajectory is leading towards wealth or struggle. Robert often points out that those deeply mired in debt often believe the ultimate solution to their problem is simply to make more money. They chase promotions, take on second jobs, or hope for a big bonus. However, not only will more money not always solve their problems, but it may often compound them. This is precisely why so many people who experience a sudden windfall, a lottery win, a large inheritance, or a significant bonus quickly burn through it and often end up in a worse financial position than before. An increase in cash, without financial education, often only results in an increase in spending. The underlying problem is not a lack of money, but a lack of financial education and literacy. This is why many individuals can be incredibly successful in their chosen professions. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers, and still struggle profoundly with money. They may have learned how to make money very well, but they have never learned how to manage it, how to make it grow, or how to make it work for them. People can be highly intelligent in their academic or professional fields, and yet be entirely illiterate when it comes to finances. They have been trained to work hard for money, but not how to make their money work hard for them. This distinction is crucial. It is the difference between being a human doing and a human being, between being an active participant in the economic game and passively being played by it. One of the most persistent misconceptions Robert addresses is the belief that one's home is an asset. While a personal home might appreciate in market value, Robert teaches that from a strict financial literacy standpoint, a home is fundamentally a liability because it takes money out of your pocket every single month through mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, and utilities. It is an expense generator. This does not mean you can never buy a house. Of course you can. But Rich Dad's advice is to first buy assets that will generate enough cash flow to comfortably pay for your house and its associated expenses. This shifts the burden from your active income to your passive income. So the core of Lesson 2 is this. If you want to get rich, all you need to do is to buy more income-producing assets, diligently keep your liabilities and expenses low, and constantly increase your financial literacy. But how do you know when you have truly acquired enough wealth? Robert offers a clear, empowering definition for wealth itself. Wealth, he says, is a person's ability to survive for a certain number of days forward. Or, put another way, if I stopped working today, how long could I survive? Another way of stating it, wealth is the measure of the cash flow from your asset column compared with your expense column. When your assets generate enough income to cover all your monthly expenses, that is when you are truly wealthy, even if you are not yet rich in the common perception of having millions in the bank. You have achieved financial independence. You are free from the daily grind of working for money simply to cover your basic needs. This is the ultimate goal of financial literacy. It is the ability to understand, manage, and grow your money so that it works for you, freeing up your time and energy to pursue what truly matters. Core Lesson 3. Mind your own business. Building your asset column. This lesson often causes an immediate shift in perspective for many people. It highlights a critical distinction between what most people do for a living and what they should own to become wealthy. It is about actively cultivating your financial independence, not just your career. Robert shares a powerful anecdote about Ray Kroc, the visionary founder of McDonald's. A friend of Robert's heard Ray Kroc speak at the University of Texas in 1974. Afterward, Ray graciously agreed to join the students at their favorite hangout for a few beers. In a moment that would become legendary, he asked the students what business he was in. At first, they laughed, finding the question absurd. Of course, they answered, he was in the business of selling hamburgers. That was obvious. But Ray, with a knowing smile, told them he was not in the hamburger business. He was in the real estate business. This statement was a revelation. Ray Kroc intuitively understood that the land and location of each McDonald's franchise were the most significant factors in its success. The burgers were merely the product that generated the cash flow to acquire and hold the most valuable real estate. Today, McDonald's is, astonishingly, the largest single owner of real estate in the world, holding some of the most valuable intersections and street corners across the globe. Their vast real estate portfolio is their true underlying business. This story beautifully illustrates a big difference between your profession and your business. Often, Robert asks people, "What is your business?" And they respond, "Oh, I am a banker," or "I am a doctor," or "I am an engineer." Then he asks them, "Do you own the bank, the hospital, or the engineering firm?" And they usually respond, "No, I just work there." In that instance, they have confused their profession, what they do for a paycheck, with their business, what they own, and what generates passive income. This is a widespread trap. So many people spend their entire lives working for everyone else. Their employer, who benefits from their labor, the government through taxes, and the bank through mortgage and loan payments. What Ray Kroc and Rich Dad knew, and what forms the crux of secret number 3 of The Rich, is to mind your own business. This means consciously and diligently building your own asset column rather than spending your whole life enriching someone else's business. Minding your own business does not necessarily mean you need to quit your job and start a company tomorrow, though for some ambitious individuals, that might be a natural progression. Instead, your business revolves around your asset column, not your income column. The core advice is this: keep your daytime job by all means, if it provides stability and income, but simultaneously, start buying real assets, those things that put money in your pocket, and avoid accumulating liabilities that lose value as soon as you acquire them. The strategy is clear: keep your expenses low, diligently reduce your liabilities, and systematically build a base of solid income-producing assets. This is the proactive, disciplined approach to wealth creation. Parents, Robert emphasizes, need to teach young people this fundamental distinction before they leave home. Imagine if every graduating high school student understood what a true asset was and how to acquire it. They would be far less likely to find themselves trapped in a lifestyle of debt, constantly chasing the next paycheck. Robert outlines the categories of real assets that consistently put money in your pocket. Businesses that do not require his presence. This is a crucial distinction. He owns them, but they are managed and run by other people. If he has to work there daily, it is not a business. It becomes his job. This includes online businesses that can be largely automated or run by a team, or franchises where the operational systems are already in place. The goal is to generate income without your active time. Stocks. Ownership shares in companies that can pay dividends or appreciate in value. This requires research and understanding of market dynamics, but once acquired, can generate passive income or capital gains. Bonds. Debt instruments issued by governments or corporations that pay regular interest, generally lower risk than stocks, providing stable income-generating real estate. This is a favorite of Robert's. This includes rental properties, residential or commercial, industrial spaces, or even land that generates income, e.g., through leasing for agriculture or development. The key is the cash flow it produces. Royalties from intellectual property. This includes music, patents, books, software, or any creation that generates recurring income when used or sold by others. Think of authors earning royalties on their books, or inventors earning royalties on their patented designs. Anything else that has value, produces income, or appreciates, and has a ready market. This is a broad category encompassing various alternative investments, commodities, or even rare collectibles if they meet the criteria of producing income or appreciating in value with a clear exit strategy. Robert advises acquiring assets that you genuinely love or understand. He, for instance, loves real estate and thus spends most of his time thinking about and shopping for it. His passion drives his success in that area. If you do not like real estate, he says, do not invest in it. Choose an asset class that aligns with your interests and where you are willing to invest your time in learning. Passion fuels persistence. Even while working for Xerox, a demanding sales job, Robert diligently minded his own business. He kept his day job, which provided a steady income and valuable sales skills, and slowly but surely built his asset column. The more he understood accounting and cash management, the better he became at analyzing potential investments and eventually building his own successful companies. He generally does not recommend that people start a company unless they genuinely have the burning desire and entrepreneurial spirit to do so. Otherwise, he advises them to keep their day job and focus their efforts on minding their business, building and keeping their asset column strong. As cash flow from your assets grows, you gain the freedom to indulge in luxuries. But there is a crucial caveat. Only indulge if the cash flow from your assets supports them. Build the asset column first, and let the income generated by those assets pay for your desired luxuries. When your assets generate enough income to cover your entire lifestyle, including all the bells and whistles, that is when you can truly buy them without incurring debt or compromising your financial stability. This is the true definition of financial freedom, living off the income your assets generate, not your active labor. It is about creating a self-sustaining financial ecosystem that continuously works for you. Core Lesson 4: The History of Taxes and the Power of Corporations. This lesson delves into a topic that many find dry, yet it holds immense power in understanding how the rich operate, and why conventional financial wisdom often leaves the average person at a disadvantage. It is about understanding the rules of the game, particularly those written into tax laws. Many people globally view the legendary figure of Robin Hood as a hero, someone who selflessly took from the rich and gave to the poor, embodying a sense of justice and fairness. Rich Dad, however, did not share that romanticized opinion. He, provocatively, called Robin Hood a crook. This might sound jarring, but it stems from a deeper understanding of economic realities and incentives. While the popular sentiment persists that the rich should pay more in taxes and give to the poor, in reality, it is the middle class, especially the educated upper-income middle class, that is disproportionately and heavily taxed. This is a crucial, often overlooked dynamic. To understand how this happens, Robert provides a brief but insightful history of taxes, particularly in England and America. Originally, in ancient times, there were no permanent, widespread income taxes. Governments would levy occasional, temporary taxes, usually to fund specific emergencies like wars. It was a one-off payment for a specific need. However, in 1874, England made income tax a permanent levy on its citizens. And in 1913, America followed suit, establishing income tax as a permanent feature of its financial system. These countries were able to get income taxes accepted by the majority of the population because the initial levies were presented as being solely against the rich. The narrative was powerful. Let us tax the wealthy to help the common man. It was a politically popular move, appealing to a sense of social justice. However, a profound irony unfolded. Although income tax was explicitly designed to punish the rich, it ultimately wound up punishing those who had voted for it and supported its implementation, the poor and, especially, the burgeoning middle class. Rich Dad explained the fundamental difference in mindset and strategy between himself and Poor Dad regarding money and government. Poor Dad, as a government employee, was rewarded if he spent money and hired more people, thereby making his organization larger and more influential. His goal was often to expand the government's reach and services. For Rich Dad, a capitalist, the fewer people he hired in his core operations not for growth, and the less money he spent on non-essential expenses, the more he was respected by his investors and the more profitable his businesses became. This created a stark contrast in their fundamental approaches to resources. For Robert, growing up with one of the biggest capitalists in town as his mentor and a prominent government leader as his biological father, it was a constant challenge to discern which dad to believe. Their viewpoints on money, taxes, and government's role were diametrically opposed. But over time, as Robert diligently studied the history of taxes, he began to see an interesting perspective. As the government's appetite for money grew and its expenses increased, taxes soon needed to be levied on the middle class to sustain the system. And from there, the tax burden kept trickling down, eventually impacting nearly everyone. But here is where the rich saw an unparalleled opportunity. They do not play by the same set of rules as the average employee. This is not about cheating or illegal activities. It is about understanding legal structures. Corporations, which became popular centuries ago in the days of sailing ships, where investors pooled money and shared risk and reward, offered a powerful way around increasing taxes. Understanding the legal corporate structure gave the rich a steep, legitimate advantage and allowed them to, in essence, outsmart the intellectuals who were primarily focused on their professions and lacked this specialized financial and legal knowledge. A corporation, in its simplest form, is merely a legal document that creates a distinct legal entity. It is not a physical factory or a group of people. It is a legal fiction that has certain rights and privileges, including a lower income tax rate than individuals. This is the critical insight. Most wealthy people on the planet legally pay very little percentage of their income as taxes, or sometimes no income tax at all, because their income is routed through corporate structures. Attempts by governments to punish the rich through increased taxes rarely work in the long run, precisely because the rich, through their financial intelligence and understanding of legal structures, consistently find ways to minimize their tax burden. They adapt, innovate, and utilize the very laws designed to tax them to their advantage. The concept of financial intelligence extends beyond just assets and liabilities. It includes a deep understanding of legal structures for wealth protection and growth. The rich understand that they pay their expenses before taxes, while employees pay taxes before expenses. An employee earns a gross salary, then taxes are withheld, and then they receive their net pay to cover expenses. A corporation, however, earns income, pays its legitimate business expenses, including salaries, equipment, and even some personal expenses that are legitimate business deductions, and then pays taxes on the remaining profit. This fundamental difference in the order of operations is a massive advantage. Furthermore, the corporate veil offers not just tax advantages, but significant liability protection. A corporation is a separate legal entity, meaning that in many cases, the personal assets of the owner are protected from the liabilities or lawsuits incurred by the business. This separation of personal and business finances is a crucial aspect of wealth preservation. It is not about avoiding taxes illegally, but about understanding the legal strategies and employing tax professionals who can guide you through the complexities of the tax code. The rich do not just earn money. They strategically structure their money to optimize its growth and minimize its outflow due to taxation. Core Lesson 5. The rich invest their minds and money. Inventing opportunities. This lesson reveals a profound truth. Your mind, specifically your financial intelligence, is your most important asset. If you train it correctly, if you cultivate its ability to see beyond the obvious, millions, even billions, can be made from a simple idea or a well-structured agreement. This is where the concept of inventing money truly comes alive. If you commit to increasing your financial intelligence, you will start seeing things that others simply do not. In other words, you will begin to invent money, not through magic, but through perception and strategic action. You will spot opportunities lurking in plain sight that the untrained eye overlooks. Robert provides a compelling example from the early 1990s, a time when the economy in Arizona, USA, was in a terrible state. Most people were gripped by fear, warning about economic crashes and widespread losses. But during this period of widespread apprehension, Robert and his wife Kim made a significant amount of money. He gives a simplified but powerful example of how they did this. They identified a house valued at $75,000 that they were able to purchase for only $20,000, a substantial discount. They needed $2,000 as a down payment, but they did not have it readily available. So they approached a friend and asked to borrow $2,000 for a fee of $200. The friend, seeing a quick return on investment, agreed. While the purchase was being processed legally, Robert did something ingenious. He immediately ran an advertisement in the local newspaper, advertising the same $75,000 house for only $60,000. And with a crucial attractive selling point, no down payment required from the buyers. As soon as the house was legally his, he sold it within minutes. The $40,000 in profit, $60,000 sale price minus $20,000 purchase price, was created almost out of nothing, requiring a total working time of perhaps 5 hours. This simplified example vividly illustrates how powerful ideas, combined with financial intelligence, can create hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is about seeing what others miss, understanding market dynamics, and acting decisively. Robert emphasizes that markets naturally go up and down. Investments come and go. The world is constantly presenting you with opportunities of a lifetime. The key is whether you are capable of seeing them and acting on them. The more you diligently develop your financial intelligence, which takes time and consistent effort, the more opportunities will literally be offered to you. Or more accurately, the more you will perceive them. There are many profound changes ahead in our world. Technological shifts, economic restructuring, global reconfigurations. Developing your financial IQ allows you to view this future of change through a lens of excitement, not dread. You will see the immense opportunities embedded within these shifts and be prepared to act on them. This contrasts sharply with those who allow their fear and anxiety to keep them paralyzed on the sidelines, watching others move boldly forward and capture the rewards. Consider the evolution of wealth itself. 300 years ago, land was the primary form of wealth. Ownership of vast tracts of land conferred power and prosperity. Later, during the Industrial Revolution, wealth shifted to factories and production capacity. Owning the means of production, the machinery, and the labor force became the path to riches. Today, however, wealth is primarily in information. This is a critical pivot. Information flies around the world at the speed of light, and this process of rapid dissemination and transformation will only become faster and more dramatic as time passes. This means that your ability to acquire, process, understand, and leverage information is paramount. It is about understanding trends, identifying unmet needs, and connecting dots that others miss. Inventing money is not about conjuring it from thin air. It is about applying financial intelligence to existing market conditions to create value and extract profit. It is about seeing a $75,000 house for $20,000 and understanding the financial mechanisms to acquire and sell it quickly. It is about recognizing that a need exists, kids wanting to read comics cheaply, and creating a system to meet that need for a profit, the comic book library. The importance of continuous learning and staying updated on economic trends cannot be overstated. Financial intelligence is a muscle that needs constant exercise. It involves reading, researching, observing, and engaging with the financial world. Moreover, recognizing arbitrage opportunities, the ability to buy something at a lower price in one market and sell it at a higher price in another, or to capitalize on price differences, becomes second nature. This applies not just to traditional markets, but to information, services, and niche products. Furthermore, networking plays a massive role in finding investment deals and partners. Many of the best opportunities are not advertised publicly. They are shared within trusted networks. The more people you know who are also financially intelligent, the more potential deals and insights you will encounter. Finally, the concept of value add in investing is key. It is not just about buying low and selling high. It is about actively increasing the value of an asset. This could mean renovating a property, improving the management of a business, or developing a new feature for a product. Investing in yourself and your knowledge, therefore, stands as the first and best investment you can ever make. It is the foundation upon which all other wealth-generating activities are built. When your mind is trained to see opportunities, the world becomes a playground of potential. Core lesson 6. Work to learn, not just for money. Building skills and experience. This lesson addresses a crucial difference in mindset between those who accumulate wealth and those who remain stuck. It challenges the conventional wisdom that suggests we should specialize deeply in one area to achieve professional success. Instead, it advocates for a broader, more flexible approach to skill acquisition. Robert recounts an interview he had a few years ago in Singapore with a talented journalist. During their conversation, she confided in him that her true aspiration was to become a best-selling author. Much like him, she had written several novels which, by all accounts, were excellent in terms of prose and storytelling. Yet, despite their literary merit, her books simply did not sell. Robert, drawing from his own experience, gently suggested that she consider taking a course in sales training. The reporter's reaction was immediate and telling. She was offended. She proudly stated that she had a master's degree in English literature and could not fathom how learning to sell, a skill she explicitly stated she hated, would possibly help her literary career. She even expressed disdain for salespeople. When Robert pointed out that he was a best-selling author, not necessarily a best-writing author, she became even more rigid in her stance, declaring that she would never stoop to learn to sell, and promptly ended the interview. This story highlights a pervasive issue. There are incredibly talented and intelligent people all around us who struggle financially, much like that reporter. In the words of one shrewd business consultant, they are one skill away from greatness. When it comes to money, the only skill most people know and truly value is how to work hard within their specialized field. If that reporter, despite her disdain, had taken some courses in sales, perhaps even taken a temporary job at an advertising agency, she would have learned invaluable lessons about persuasion, marketing, and understanding buyer psychology. She could then have applied that knowledge to effectively sell more of her novels, transforming her literary talent into financial success. When Robert came out with his first book, provocatively titled, "If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School," his publisher suggested he change the title to something more academic, like The Economics of Education. But Robert knew, with a marketer's instinct, that such a title, while perhaps more dignified, would not sell. Even though he is unequivocally pro-education, he deliberately chose a controversial title because he knew it would generate buzz, get him invited on more TV and radio shows, and ultimately sell more books. And it worked. This demonstrated his understanding of the importance of sales and marketing, even for an author. Rich Dad consistently encouraged Robert to learn a little about a lot. That is why Robert and his friend Mike had worked so many different jobs growing up. They were not chasing high pay, they were chasing diverse experiences. Each job, no matter how menial, offered a unique perspective and taught them a new skill or system. Most people work hard to get a secure job, focusing almost exclusively on pay and benefits in the short term. They optimize for immediate income. What they should do, however, is seek work that will strategically teach them the skills they will need for long-term financial independence. Robert recommends adopting a long-term view instead of simply working for money and security. He suggests taking a second job, not for the extra income, but explicitly to learn a second, third, or fourth skill. Many people will resist this idea, feeling overwhelmed or uncomfortable with change. But he likens it to going to the gym. You might have to talk yourself into starting, but you will be so glad you did when the workout is over and you feel the benefits. Poor Dad, ironically, wanted Robert to become highly specialized, even though that approach had not served him well in his own life. He never fully understood that the more specialized you become, the more you can become trapped and dependent on that single specialty. If that specialty becomes obsolete, or if demand for it wanes, your entire income stream is at risk. Rich Dad, on the other hand, encouraged Mike and Robert to groom themselves to be versatile, to learn about a wide variety of different areas of business and life. This broad foundation makes them adaptable and resilient. According to Robert, the main skills needed for true financial success, regardless of your chosen field, are management of cash flow. This goes beyond simple budgeting. It is about understanding how money moves in and out of your personal and business accounts, optimizing its flow, and ensuring that more money comes in than goes out, especially from your assets. It involves tracking, forecasting, and strategizing cash utilization. Management of systems. This refers to understanding how businesses operate, how processes are created, and how to make things efficient. It is about building repeatable, scalable systems that do not rely solely on your individual effort. This could be anything from a personal investing system to the operational flow of a business. Management of people. Wealth creation often involves working with others. This means leadership, negotiation, communication, motivation, and understanding human behavior. Whether it is managing employees, negotiating with partners, or dealing with clients, effective people management is crucial. Sales and marketing. These are arguably the most important specialized skills. You can have the best product or service in the world, but if you cannot effectively sell and market it, it will not go anywhere. These skills involve understanding human psychology, persuasion, branding, and how to communicate value to a target audience. Robert constantly works on these, attending courses or buying educational resources to expand his knowledge. We can add even more to this list, because the modern world demands a broader skill set for true abundance. Negotiation skills. This is fundamental in every aspect of life, from buying a car to securing an investment property, from discussing your salary to making a business deal. The ability to advocate for your interests, find common ground, and arrive at mutually beneficial agreements can save or make you a significant amount of money over time. It involves listening, strategic thinking, and understanding leverage. Digital literacy and understanding emerging technologies. In an increasingly digital world, a basic understanding of how online businesses work, the power of social media, data analytics, and the potential of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, or virtual reality is no longer optional. These technologies are shaping future industries and creating new wealth opportunities. Staying curious and informed about these trends is vital for staying ahead. Problem solving and critical thinking. Moving beyond conventional solutions and being able to identify problems, analyze them from multiple angles, and devise creative, effective solutions is a hallmark of financially successful individuals. This means challenging assumptions, asking why, and not being content with the first answer. It is about seeing obstacles as opportunities for innovation. The work to learn mindset is about strategically investing in your human capital. It is about cultivating a diverse toolkit of skills that make you adaptable, valuable, and ultimately independent. It is a long-term strategy that pays dividends far beyond a single paycheck. It frees you from dependence on one specific job or industry and positions you to thrive in an ever-changing world. Fate. Core lesson. 7. Overcoming the inner obstacles to wealth. Even with financial literacy, a clear understanding of assets and liabilities, and a commitment to minding one's own business and learning new skills, many financially literate people still fail to develop abundant cash flow. Robert attributes this to 4 primary internal obstacles that act as powerful psychological barriers: fear, cynicism, laziness, and bad habits. Let's look at each of them in depth, and then explore even more common hurdles. Overcoming fear. The fear of losing money. No one, absolutely no one, enjoys losing money. It triggers a primal fear within us. The only people who have never lost money investing are, quite simply, those who have never invested. Everyone who engages in the world of financial markets, real estate, or business ventures will, at some point, experience a loss. The crucial difference between a rich person and a poor person, Robert explains, is not the absence of fear, but how they manage that fear and how they respond to losing. Robert emphatically states, "I have never met a rich person who hasn't lost money." But here's the key. They do not let the fear of that loss or the experience of a past loss take them out of the game. Most people, when it comes to money, play not to lose. They adopt a safe, sensible, and balanced portfolio. They invest cautiously, avoid anything risky, and focus on preserving what they have. While there is a place for this type of strategy, especially for certain goals, Robert argues that it is ultimately not a winning portfolio. It is designed to minimize loss, not maximize gain. For example, a balanced portfolio of diversified mutual funds might be financially prudent and a great option for many, but it is not how truly successful investors achieve massive wealth. They understand that to win big, you must be willing to take calculated risks. This means being a little unbalanced in the beginning, putting your eggs in a few carefully chosen baskets, and focusing intensely on making those ventures successful. It is not about reckless gambling, but about informed, decisive action in the face of uncertainty. Risk management, in the rich dad philosophy, is not risk avoidance, it is calculated exposure. It is about understanding the risks involved, mitigating them where possible, and accepting the inherent uncertainty. Furthermore, there is a fundamental difference between a mistake and a loss. A mistake is a learning opportunity. Every time a rich person loses money, they view it as tuition in the school of hard knocks. They analyze what went wrong, adjust their strategy, and come back stronger. Those who play not to lose often perceive any mistake as a devastating failure, leading them to retreat from the game entirely. This fear of loss paralyzes them and prevents them from ever truly entering the arena where wealth is created. Overcoming cynicism, self-doubt, and external negativity. Whether it is our own nagging self-doubt or the well-intentioned but often paralyzing doubts of other people in our lives, friends, family, even strangers, we frequently allow that cynicism to keep us from acting on opportunities. We play it safe, we hesitate, and valuable opportunities, moments of potential transformation, pass us by. Robert shares another powerful example. A friend of his was about to buy an investment property for a fantastic price. It was a deal with clear potential, but at the last minute, he backed out. Why? Because a neighbor who was not an investor and had no real financial knowledge told him it was a bad deal. Had he stayed in it, he would have doubled his investment within a short period, potentially providing him with the momentum to escape the rat race. But the neighbor's unfounded cynicism, coupled with the friend's own latent doubts, caused him to miss a life-changing opportunity. Doubts and cynicism are powerful forces that keep most people poor. Rich Dad had a profound saying, "Cynics criticize and winners analyze." Cynics stand on the sidelines, pointing out everything that could go wrong, expressing negativity and dismissing opportunities. Winners, however, keep their eyes open, ask questions, delve into the details, and analyze the situation for what it truly is, seeing possibilities that everyone else misses. They understand that criticism without analysis is just noise. For instance, real estate is a powerful investment tool for anyone seeking financial independence. Yet, every time Robert mentions real estate as a vehicle for wealth, he often hears immediate objections like, "I don't want to fix toilets," or "I don't want to deal with problematic tenants." These individuals immediately focus on the minor inconveniences, the toilets, and these small perceived annoyances keep them from seeing the massive upside and potential for financial freedom that real estate offers. Their cynicism about the minor challenges blinds them to the major opportunities. The antidote to cynicism is to surround yourself with positive, financially intelligent people who are actively engaged in building wealth. Their energy, their insights, and their willingness to share knowledge can counteract the negativity that often pervades general society. It is also about developing your own critical thinking skills, so you can evaluate information for yourself rather than passively accepting the doubts of others. Do not let other people's fears become your own. Overcoming laziness, procrastination, and inaction. This might be the most uncomfortable obstacle for many because it directly challenges our self-perception. What is the cure to laziness? Surprisingly, Robert suggests, a little greed. This can be hard for many to hear, as we are often raised to see greed or desire as inherently bad, a vice rather than a virtue. But Rich Dad reframed it. Instead of instinctively saying, "I can't afford it," which is a defeatist statement that shuts down the brain, change your mindset to, "How can I afford it?" This subtle linguistic shift is incredibly powerful. "I can't afford it" is a lie the human spirit knows it can overcome. By saying you can't do something, you are creating an internal conflict between your resourceful spirit and your lazy mind. "How can I afford it?" However, opens the brain, forces it to think creatively, to search for solutions, to explore possibilities. It creates a stronger mind and a dynamic, solution-oriented spirit. Without that little greed, that desire to have something better, to experience more, to live a more fulfilling life, progress would not be possible. Our world progresses precisely because individuals desire a better life. New inventions are made because we desire something better, more efficient, more convenient. We go to school and study hard because we want something better for ourselves and our families. Too much greed certainly can be destructive and lead to unethical behavior, but a healthy, controlled amount of desire, a little greed, can be a powerful motivator, pushing you out of your comfort zone and into action. The key is to channel this desire constructively. Break down large goals into smaller, manageable, actionable steps. Overwhelm is a common cause of procrastination. By focusing on the very next tiny action, you can overcome inertia and build momentum. Recognize that feeling of resistance or not wanting to as a sign that your brain is simply defaulting to laziness, and then consciously override it with the question, "How can I?" Overcoming bad habits. Financial discipline. Our habits, both good and bad, profoundly shape our financial destiny. Poor Dad always paid everyone else first, the government, the creditors, the landlord, and himself last. But predictably, he rarely had any money left over for himself. This was his ingrained habit, a cycle of depletion. Rich Dad, on the contrary, always paid himself first. This might sound counterintuitive, especially if money is tight, but he knew that creditors and the government would complain loudly if he did not pay them. This created a powerful, productive pressure on Rich Dad. By paying himself first, even if it meant being short for a bill, it motivated him to seek other forms of income, to think creatively, to find new deals, and to come up with the extra money needed to pay his creditors and still keep his self-investment. If he had paid himself last, he would not have felt that kind of productive pressure. This forced him to be more resourceful and made him financially stronger. This pay yourself first habit is foundational. It is about prioritizing your financial future above all else. It is about automating your savings and investments so that money is automatically transferred to your asset column before you even have a chance to spend it. This builds consistent habits, removes willpower from the equation, and ensures that your financial growth is a continuous process. Regular financial reviews, sitting down, even monthly, to track your income, expenses, and asset growth is another good habit. It allows you to see where your money is going, identify areas for improvement, and celebrate your progress, reinforcing positive behaviors. Beyond these 4 core obstacles, let's explore a few more modern challenges that can derail even the most financially literate individuals. Overcoming impatience, the desire for instant gratification. In our fast-paced, instant everything world, patience is a dwindling virtue, and its absence can be a significant obstacle to wealth building. Many people want to get rich quick. They chase the latest hot stock, invest in unproven schemes, or expect overnight success from a new venture. When results are not immediate, they get discouraged and quit. The truth is that true, sustainable wealth building is a long game. It is about understanding the power of compounding, the exponential growth of your assets over time as your earnings generate more earnings. This process is slow at first, like a snowball rolling downhill, but it gains incredible momentum over decades. The desire for instant gratification hinders this long-term compounding effect. It leads to impulsive decisions, chasing fads, and abandoning strategies prematurely. The antidote to impatience is to embrace the process, celebrate small wins, and maintain consistent effort over time. Recognize that the most valuable things in life, including substantial wealth, rarely come instantly. They are the result of persistent, disciplined action day after day, year after year. Overcoming arrogance and ego. Believing you know it all. The moment you believe you know everything there is to know about money and investing, you stop learning, and that is precisely when you begin to stagnate and often lose money. Arrogance closes the mind to new information, different perspectives, and crucial feedback. An overinflated ego can lead to taking on excessive risk, ignoring expert advice. An overinflated ego closes the mind to new information, different perspectives, and crucial feedback. It fosters a dangerous complacency, leading individuals to believe they are beyond mistakes, that their past successes guarantee future triumphs. This hubris can lead to devastating financial outcomes, often far greater than any losses incurred by a calculated risk taker. Think of it this way: the market is a constantly evolving entity. What worked yesterday might not work today, and what works today might be obsolete tomorrow. An arrogant investor, someone convinced they have figured out the market, might cling to old strategies or dismiss new trends, only to be left behind as the landscape shifts. They might refuse to adapt, to seek counsel, or to admit when they are wrong. This intellectual stubbornness is a direct path to financial stagnation and, eventually, significant losses. The importance of humility cannot be overstated in the world of finance. Humility means acknowledging that you do not and cannot know everything. It means being open to learning from every experience, good or bad, and from every person, regardless of their status. It means actively seeking out diverse viewpoints, even those that challenge your own. This continuous learning from both failures and successes is the bedrock of long-term growth. When you lose money, humility allows you to analyze why the loss occurred, extract the lesson, and adjust your approach. Without it, you might blame external factors, never truly learning from your mistakes. Being open to new ideas and challenging your own assumptions is vital. The financial world is rife with innovation. New investment vehicles, new technologies, new business models. An arrogant mind dismisses these as fads or irrelevant. A humble, curious mind investigates, learns, and adapts. Consider the advent of online businesses, or cryptocurrencies, or artificial intelligence. Those who dismiss these innovations out of hand, believing their traditional methods are superior, risk missing out on massive waves of wealth creation. The concept of a beginner's mind is incredibly powerful here. Even if you have achieved great financial success, approaching each new investment, each new market, each new challenge with the curiosity and openness of a beginner ensures that you remain receptive to new information and less susceptible to the biases of past success. It keeps you sharp, adaptable, and perpetually in a state of learning and growth. An inflated ego often prevents individuals from asking for help, admitting when they do not understand something, or seeking out mentors. Yet, the wisest and wealthiest individuals are often those who are most eager to learn from others, to collaborate, and to leverage collective intelligence. Your ego is not your amigo when it comes to money. Overcoming lack of focus. Spreading oneself. Too thin. The modern world is filled with endless opportunities and distractions, and this abundance, ironically, can become a significant obstacle to wealth creation. Many individuals fall prey to what is often called shiny object syndrome. They are constantly jumping from one promising venture to another, never truly committing to mastering any single one. They might start dabbling in real estate, then get distracted by the allure of cryptocurrency, then shift to e-commerce, and then pivot to a new get-rich-quick scheme, all without achieving meaningful success in any area. This lack of focus results in spreading one's resources, time, energy, and money too thin across too many ventures without ever achieving true mastery or significant traction in any of them. Imagine trying to dig 10 shallow holes instead of one deep well. You exert 10 times the effort, but never hit water. The power of deep work on high-impact activities is paramount. Success in finance, whether it is investing, building a business, or managing your wealth, requires concentration, dedication, and a deep understanding of your chosen domain. This means identifying the activities that will yield the greatest results and then dedicating focused, uninterrupted time to them. It means saying no to distractions and avoiding the temptation to chase every new trend. Focus leads to mastery, and mastery leads to efficiency and ultimately profitability. When you concentrate your efforts on one or two key areas, you build expertise, develop crucial insights, and become highly effective. This efficiency allows you to identify better opportunities, execute strategies more precisely, and navigate challenges with greater skill. For example, an investor who deeply understands one particular niche of real estate, e.g. multifamily units in a specific region, will likely outperform someone who randomly buys single-family homes, commercial properties, and raw land without a cohesive strategy. Prioritization and setting clear, measurable goals are the antidotes to a lack of focus. What are your top 3 financial goals for the next year? What are the 1 or 2 core activities that will move you closest to those goals? Once identified, ruthlessly protect your time and energy to dedicate to those activities. The concept of a minimum effective dose also applies here. What is the smallest amount of focused effort you can apply consistently to achieve the desired outcome? Instead of trying to do everything, identify the critical few things that will make the biggest difference and dedicate yourself to them. Lack of focus often stems from impatience, wanting results quickly in multiple areas, or fear of missing out, FOMO. By understanding that true wealth is built through consistent, focused effort over time, and by trusting your chosen path, you can overcome this obstacle. Remember, the goal is not to be busy, it is to be productive and strategic. Conclusion: the path forward, your financial journey. We have journeyed through the transformative lessons of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, expanding on each principle to provide you with a comprehensive blueprint for financial freedom. Let's recap the key takeaways that form the bedrock of this expanded Rich Dad mindset. First, we learned that the rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. This fundamental mindset shift moves you from being an employee of money to an owner of income-generating assets. It's about consciously building passive and portfolio income streams so that your financial well-being is no longer solely dependent on your active labor. This is the ultimate goal of financial independence. Second, we delved into the critical importance of financial literacy, the language of wealth. We distinguished clearly between assets, things that put money in your pocket, and liabilities, things that take money out of your pocket. Understanding this distinction, along with basic cash flow patterns, is the foundation upon which all financial intelligence is built. It's about knowing the rules of the game so you can play to win, not just avoid losing. Third, we explored the concept of minding your own business, building your asset column. This means, regardless of your profession, consciously and diligently acquiring income-producing assets like businesses that run without your daily presence, stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, and intellectual property. It's about letting your assets generate the cash flow to pay for your luxuries rather than working harder to afford them. Fourth, we unpack the history of taxes and the strategic power of corporations. We learned that the rich play by a different set of rules, legally utilizing corporate structures to minimize their tax burden and protect their wealth. This isn't about tax evasion, but about understanding the legal framework and using it to your advantage, just as the financially intelligent always have. Fifth, we discovered that the rich invest their minds and money, inventing opportunities where others see only problems. Financial intelligence allows you to spot unique deals, capitalize on market fluctuations, and leverage information to create wealth. It's about seeing the future of change as an exciting landscape of opportunities, not a source of dread. Sixth, we emphasized the vital principle of working to learn, not just for money. This means strategically acquiring diverse skills, such as cash flow management, systems management, people management, sales, marketing, negotiation, and digital literacy. It's about building a versatile toolkit that makes you adaptable and valuable in any economic climate, rather than being trapped by over-specialization. Finally, and perhaps most crucially, we confronted the inner obstacles to wealth: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, impatience, arrogance, and lack of focus. Overcoming these internal barriers is paramount, as they are often more formidable than any external challenge. It's about cultivating a mindset of courage, analysis, action, discipline, patience, humility, and unwavering focus. This financial journey is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It is a continuous pursuit of knowledge, a consistent application of principles, and a perpetual process of self-improvement. There is no magic pill or secret formula that guarantees overnight riches. Wealth is built incrementally through diligent effort, informed decisions, and resilience in the face of setbacks. So, where do you begin? The call to action is simple, yet profound. Start small, but start now. The biggest asset you possess, far more valuable than any money in the bank, is your time. The compound interest on your actions today will yield exponential returns in your future. Do not wait for the perfect moment or the big break. Begin by educating yourself further, by saving a small percentage of every paycheck, by identifying a single asset you can acquire, or by simply shifting your internal dialogue from "I can't afford it" to "How can I afford it?" Building a community around you, finding like-minded individuals, mentors, and peers who are also committed to financial growth can provide invaluable support and open up new opportunities. The shared journey, the exchange of ideas, and the collective problem-solving can accelerate your progress immensely. Attend seminars, join online forums, read books, listen to podcasts, immerse yourself in the world of financial literacy, and connect with those who are already walking the path you aspire to. The ultimate goal of this entire endeavor is not just to accumulate a vast sum of money. While financial abundance is a wonderful outcome, the true purpose is financial freedom. It is the ability to dictate your own time, to make choices based on desire rather than necessity, and to live a life aligned with your highest values. With financial freedom comes the profound capability to give back to your community, to support causes you believe in, and to create opportunities for others that you yourself might not have had. It is about leaving a lasting financial legacy, not just for your family, but for the world. Remember, financial success is not a destination. It is a dynamic journey of continuous learning, strategic action, and unwavering adaptation. The world is constantly changing, and your financial intelligence must evolve with it. Embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and never stop pushing yourself to learn and grow. The blueprint is laid out before you. The power to build your financial future lies within your grasp. Now, go forth, apply these principles, and build the life of abundance you deserve. Thank you for joining me on this profound exploration. I hope this detailed guide empowers you to embark on your own journey toward financial freedom. For more insights and deeper dives into related topics, be sure to check out the other videos and resources on our channel. Your millionaire mindset awaits.